All right, guys, we're going to get started today on the program here. T-minus 30 seconds to start time. We want to give some perspective on the student loan, the partial student loan. How do you characterize it? Is student loan forgiveness a good description? I mean, that might be a good description of it. I mean, it's not a complete forgiveness of payment, but dude, you talk about some dividing factors. I thought going into the election, and I still think going into midterms, I still think inflation is going to be the topic, the primary topic that Americans vote upon, inflation, the pinching of pennies in American households. But this student loan forgiveness, this $10,000 is going to be a topic now as well, because it is polarizing. And we're going to look at it from different angles that are not traditional or accustomed to what you guys have been looking at so far, perhaps. That topic on the Thursday edition of the I Love CVO show with myself and Judah Wickower. We're going to also chatter. Dude, do you know there's some students, and we've covered the school bus driving issue the most on this program, and we're the first to do it on this program, but some students are spending 3 hours round trip in school buses. There was one mom that reached out to me after the show that said her daughter, who was in the 4th grade, spent 3.5 hours, 3 hours and 32 minutes on a school bus, round trip. That doesn't seem right to me. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about the gas station gambling companies, the parlor games, the skill games. There's one company, Queen of Virginia, that's suing everybody. All those topics and more on the I Love CVO show. Judah Wickower, we can rock and roll when you're ready.
Quiet on the set.
Guys, good Thursday afternoon. I'm Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Love CVO show. Thank you kindly for joining us. Great to connect with you through the I Love CVO network, our studio in downtown Charlottesville in the Macklin building. Our audience, however, is Charlottesville-wide, Central Virginia, Commonwealth, country, and worldwide, as we live stream this show on every social media platform known to mankind. Today, we thank Skooma Boutique Dispensary for being a part of the show. The best dispensary in Charlottesville, Skooma Boutique Dispensary, with locations on the Downtown Mall and Elliewood Avenue. They also have a fantastic billboard up on High Street. Check out their new billboard, which we're very, very proud of. We thank the Clifton Inn in Keswick for being a part of the show as well. They're launching a Thursday evening music series that starts in September, the first Thursday in September. To be exact, that date is the September 1st. Marie and Coda for Chamomile and Whiskey will kick off that music series. Look, we have a lot we want to cover today. You'll see Judah Wickower, our director, here in moments. We want to talk to the Joe Biden student loan forgiveness plan. $10,000 for a lot of people. If you're a Pell Grant, if you had a Pell Grant, you got 20 grand. But the $10,000 for most people, for a lot of people, that applies if your income is $125,000 a year or lower for one person, $250,000 a year for a household. I want to talk this and how polarizing this has quickly become. Going into midterms, which we are now let's say September, October. We're 2 months and 10 days away from midterms. 2 months and 2 weeks away. I thought Americans would vote with their wallets and their purses because inflation has ravaged households in our country. But this Biden plan may be the second focus point or second priority because it's quickly polarized our country. It's very quickly polarized our country. And I want to highlight this. The news cycle today, August 25th, 2022, you know what's not in the news cycle anymore? COVID. You know what's not in the news cycle anymore? Russia, Ukraine. You know what is in the news cycle? Inflation and education. Education has become such a hot button topic. Public school and now college with this student loan forgiveness. Education has become a political battlefield that is polarizing America. And this just stokes the fire and further adds gas to the battle. We'll talk about that on the program. I also want to give you an update on this is so dirty. This is my beef with the gambling machines in the gas stations. How many of you guys have seen the slot machines in the gas stations? The slot machines at the bodegas, the slot machines at the mom and pop convenience stores. You've seen them. You've seen people post it up. It's a video crack, except this video crack takes your money and it preys on you. And the unfortunate nature of these gambling machines and gas stations is it preys on the people that are on the financial margin. It preys on the weak. The company, Queen of Virginia, they have arguably the most market share with these gambling machines, these slot machines in the mom and pop convenience stores and gas stations and the bodegas. And they are filing, according to the Virginia Mercury, a fantastic nonprofit website that covers Commonwealth news. They're nonprofit, they're nonpartisan. It's a team of established journalists, many from the Richmond Times-Dispatch. The Virginia Mercury reports that Queen of Virginia has filed nearly 150 breach of contract lawsuits against the mom and pop convenience stores who have agreed to host the gambling machines. So you got this company that is a huge lobbyer of Richmond and Virginia and Commonwealth politicians, a huge lobbyer of politicians. In fact, Queen of Virginia has made more than $820,000 in political donations to both Democrats and Republicans, according to the Virginia Public Access Project. And Queen of Virginia, the gambling company, gave six-figure support to both Glenn Youngkin and Terry McAuliffe. That's called hedging.
Yeah.
When you support both, you say, I don't give a rat's ass who wins. I'm just going to give each governor the same amount of money, so whoever wins, we got our bases covered. That's hedging. This company that's cash rich, that preys on the weak and preys on the poor, is now preying on convenience store owners and bodegas and gas stations that are locally owned and operated. These mom and pops sign contracts, and granted, they should read the contracts. We've had this discussion in the past, and let's welcome you into the program. Judah Wickower, the jack of all wits. I find some culpability in the bodegas, the convenience stores, and the gas stations, the locally owns, for not reading the contracts.
Yeah.
I had the conversation with my wife, and she said, Jerry, listen to what Judah had to say on your program about a month and a half ago. Most of us don't read the contracts from front to finish. And she also said they also don't have the resources financially to hire a team of lawyers to read 80, 90, hundreds of pages of contractual documentation.
And even if they did read it themselves, how many of them are actually going to understand what's being asked of them?
I get that. I'd read the contract.
Yeah, but a lot of these
You
people,
know I'd read the contract.
I mean, you know who owns bodegas. They're not people that are savvy with
English may not be their first language.
It doesn't even matter if English is their only language. Not that many people are conversant in legalese, and somebody owning a gas station is probably not. I mean, there's a lot of things you could say about
super proficient in reading 100-page contracts that have language that's difficult to understand even for lawyers.
Yeah.
And that's a fair point. And I'm going to give you that point. My wife said the same thing. I'm sympathetic and apathetic to that point. I think you're right. Okay? So did you see how dirty this company is, Queen of Virginia?
Oh, yeah.
150 breach of lawsuit contracts against these bodegas and gas stations, these mom and pops.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like some of those aren't necessarily being followed up on. They're almost like, what would you call it?
They're threats.
Yeah, but
the lawsuits are the latest example of the hardball tactics being deployed in pursuit of gaming profits after the Commonwealth opened its doors to casinos, poker, sports betting, and a variety of games that resemble slot machines. Queen of Virginia is suing these bodegas and these gas stations because the bodegas and the gas stations want to do something different.
Well, not even that. So much about these guys is shady. First of all, they got in right after from what I read, they got in right after the laws changed to allow some betting as long as it was games of chance and not luck. So they got in before there were any laws in the book, before there were any taxes from the state, any of that stuff. Then they write up these contracts to these people. And the thing is, a lot of these places may have been able to stay in business because of the money that was brought in from the machines, which is a good thing. But at the same time, now they're starting to deal with changes in the law because of the state. They're starting to deal with, maybe these guys aren't what they want to have in their shop, and now they're finding out that they've written into these contracts clauses that have to do with what they basically can't use anyone else's machines.
Virginia Mercury
for
reports that this company, Queen of Virginia, has non-compete language that's so aggressive and stringent that if any of these locally owned bodegas chooses a competitor or chooses to remove the machine altogether, Queen of Virginia will sue the individually owned store, claiming it owes tens of thousands of dollars in damages for removing the machine. So here you got a company that is sophisticated, aggressive, lobbying governors to the tune of six figures, contributing hundreds of thousands of dollars to Commonwealth political races to secure a company future, gambling, preying on the poor.
And also trying to lock out any other company that might come in.
Trying to create a monopoly in the Commonwealth, Queen of Virginia. Going to bodegas, gas stations, and convenience stores that are locally owned and operated, not the ones that are chains, the Sheetz and Wawas, but the locally owned and operated one. They sell snake oil. These machines, you'll get a percentage of the profits, but they don't necessarily highlight that you can't take them out or replace them, because if you do, you owe the company tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And if you choose to take them out and do it, they're going to sue you, and they're going to drop the hammer on you. This was my beef with these machines 2 years ago when they showed up in downtown Charlottesville, and I raised a stink about it. Do you remember that? I'm not going to say where, who. I don't have to go down that rabbit hole again. 2 years ago in downtown Charlottesville, these machines showed up, and I allocated an entire week of programming to explaining why they were like the scum of the scum.
Yeah, that had more to do with the user end, didn't it?
It had everything to do, it had partially that, and it had everything to do with this ecosystem of scumminess.
Yeah.
This is the ecosystem that those machines live within. Gambling machine in the back of a bodega. It keeps the poor. That's what they do. They prey on unsophisticated consumers, the customer, and the customer is the gas station, bodega, convenience store owner, and the man and woman that pump their paycheck into it. You don't see wealthy people playing these games. They prey on the poor. And now they're preying on the bodegas that are locally owned. 150 active lawsuits, according to Virginia Mercury. Now, I want to go to the lead of the show, and we'll talk the school bus situation. Dude, it's become so much more real now that school started. I'm being bombarded with direct messages of moms that watch the show. I knew we had a massive mom population that watched our program and listened to the show, but over the course of this week, it's got to be close to 300 individual families reaching out to us about bus driving in Albemarle County in the city of Charlottesville. And most of them are Albemarle County. And they said, Jerry, you've been highlighting the city of Charlottesville's plight. And there's a drastic amount of empty school buses. They don't have enough drivers. The moms have had a consistent message that Albemarle County is in a similar plight, and because the county is so large, the routes and the delays are way more impactful.
Oh, no doubt.
The city of Charlottesville's 10.2 square miles.
The county also surrounds Seville, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not like some places there are probably no direct routes. You've got to go around Seville.
Well, no, they drive through Seville.
Are you sure they're allowed to? I'm joking.
They would drive through Seville. They take the most direct route. So the moms have said, highlight Albemarle. And one mom in particular talked about her daughter who was round tripping a school bus yesterday for 3 hours and 33 minutes. She's in elementary school.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the collateral damage of a 3 hour and 30-minute round trip bus ride for an elementary school student.
Yeah.
You want to talk about educational gaps, and sure we have to talk academics and performance in the classroom, but you don't think a 3 hour and 30-minute round trip bus ride for an elementary school student is going to further or widen the educational gap?
Yeah.
A kid is sitting in a bus on a what do you call it, a seat, not studying, not learning, wasting her most precious commodity, her time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, whose fault is this? Do we not hold the school board accountable here? Look, the Board of Supervisors, Judah, the Board of Supervisors of Albemarle County and the City Council of Charlottesville allocate the money to the school boards. Council and the Board of Supervisors allocate the money. The school boards determine how to spend it. The school boards determine how to spend the money. Are the school boards so focused on woke policy? Are the school boards so focused on inclusion and open-mindedness that they're disregarding or deprioritizing infrastructure and common sense?
I mean, do you really think that's what they're doing?
Explain this to me. Help me understand. What would get more school bus drivers in school buses in Albemarle County in the city of Charlottesville and solve this crisis that we have? Because it's a crisis. We have a crisis. We have students that are in elementary school on a school bus for 3 hours and 33 minutes. We have students in elementary school playing Frogger and risking their life down High Street. My wife today saw them walking down Hydraulic, and she said, you know what the students that were walking down Hydraulic to go to, you know, there's three schools over there by Albemarle High School. They all had one thing in common. You know what they were? All students of color. Walking down Hydraulic Road. She said it was not safe. School board to allocate the money. You know what would solve the school bus driver crisis?
I don't.
You know.
I mean, you can't just throw money at it.
Why?
Because that's not how life works.
If they 50% increase the pay of the bus drivers, you don't think they'd get more bus drivers?
They probably would get some more bus drivers.
Okay,
I don't know that they would get all the bus drivers they need.
If they get more than they have now?
Yes, that
would
would certainly be helpful.
What is the number one way to drive employee engagement at a company? It's compensation. Why are we focused on, and I have to caveat this because I know this is going to irritate people. And you listen to this program because I'm straightforward, unabashed, if you may. I am all for inclusion and all for making schools as welcoming as possible. 100% for it. But how are we completely focused on gender-neutral bathrooms and school reconfiguration projects? And how are we so freaking focused on rebranding, spending tens of thousands of, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars when you include signage costs? You're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to rebrand schools. Kale Elementary is Mountain View. Hundreds of thousands of dollars spending rebranding schools. We're more focused on woke policy than getting elementary school kids to school on time. We're more focused on rebranding an elementary school because of some sketchy history than getting CDL drivers in buses so the future can get the first period on time.
I'm with you on some of that.
I mean, Jesus. 3 hours and 33 minutes?
That is insane.
That is insane. For an elementary school kid? My kid's 4.5.
Especially in Charlottesville or Albemarle
County. Yeah.
Either one.
Yeah,
we're not talking about Los Angeles. I went
exactly.
I went to school in Los Angeles, and like I said, we carpooled, and it was quite a ride. LA is like 60 miles across. Charlottesville isn't that big.
And you know what my wife said today? You know what my wife said today this morning? She goes, it's the middle class and the poor that are getting screwed here. The families that need both parents to work. The families that are a single mom that's working multiple jobs. She can't drive her kid to school.
Right. There needs to be a support system where people can talk to each other, and I think they need to find ways to start carpooling.
Do you guys agree with me that if we pay the school bus drivers more, we'd get more school bus drivers? They're part-time positions in a lot of regards.
Yeah, but they've got to be available all day.
Yeah, but they're paid, a lot of them are paid as part-time, not full-time position.
Okay.
You guys want to improve the public schools? Take the money and allocate it to human capital so you increase your level of talent. If you have an increase in talent level with your employees, the consumer, the student, will respond positively. Stop being distracted or seduced or romanticized by woke policy when you can't get your kids to homeroom on time.
I would tend to agree, but though I would argue that it's probably not a binary problem here. It's not. One of them is
You're saying it's not a zero-sum game.
Yeah, if somebody spends 5 hours, trying to change the name of Kale Elementary, that doesn't take away.
How about the money? There's only set money they spend. They don't want to raise the money on the pay to the school bus drivers outside of a few $1,000s. You want to know something? Louisa County's school system pays its bus drivers more than the city of Charlottesville and Albemarle County. And guess what?
They've got enough?
Louisa County's got a full fleet of school bus drivers. I'll say it again. Louisa County pays more money to its bus drivers than the city of Charlottesville and Albemarle County. First, does anyone find that head-scratching, that Louisa County is paying its school bus drivers more than the city of Charlottesville and Albemarle County are? I find that head-scratching, especially since the cost of living is way higher in Albemarle and Charlottesville. It's no surprise that Louisa has a full fleet of drivers when the drivers make the most money there and the cost of living is lower than Albemarle and Charlottesville. There's only a certain amount of school bus drivers. You can make more money in Louisa and have a lower cost of living. Why would you go to Albemarle or the city of Charlottesville? This is common freaking sense.
Yeah.
It's time to hold the school board accountable. Hold your school board members accountable in Albemarle and the city of Charlottesville. Because when your school board members are distracted by rebranding schools or are distracted on reconfiguration projects that won't have any kind of real impact for years, if not a decade to come. And elementary school students are spending 3.5 hours in a school bus, or City of Charlottesville kids are playing Frogger and risking their lives on High Street. It's time to hold the school board members accountable. All right, one more topic. Save the most polarizing for last. You start. Joe Biden, $10,000 loan forgiveness program. If you make 125 G's or less as an individual, you get 10 G's as a household if you make $250,000 or less. He's also adding an additional $10,000 for those who received the Pell Grants to attend college. I found this statistic. First, you give
Why would you
your
get more?
take.
Do you understand why you would get more money if you got a grant? Because a grant is not money that you have to pay back. So I'm unsure why that would mean that you get more money on this forgiveness package.
60% of borrowers are recipients of federal Pell Grants, which are reserved for undergraduates with the most significant financial need, meaning more than half can get $20,000 in relief. Joe Biden's plan makes 43 million borrowers eligible for debt forgiveness. 20 million of those 43 million could get their debt erased entirely, according to the Biden administration. I see this as a lightning rod topic come midterms.
Yeah.
I thought midterms would be 100% Americans voting with their purse and their wallet. I think that now is going to be 50% how Americans are voting, and the other 50% is going to be the battlefield that's public schools and now student debt forgiveness at the collegiate level. Joe Biden's plan coincidentally happens a couple of months before midterm election. That's not a coincidence. That's politics. And whether you want to believe this or not, this is in a lot of ways an effort to swing or sway votes come midterms. Okay? I also think that those of us, including Judah Wickower and yours truly, me, who paid our way through college, me as a busboy at Ruby Tuesdays, waiter, host, and bartender, you working many jobs, was it during school and after school to pay for Savannah College of Art and Design?
Yeah.
Okay? Folks like us are getting a short stick here. Folks that chose not to go to college, instead they chose to learn a trade like electrician, plumber, carpenter, construction, whatever that trade is, they're getting a short stick as well. Some people that were in the trade business, their college tuition was thousands of dollars, if not tens of thousands of dollars, spent on tools and a truck to learn that profession. You can't be a plumber, an electrician, work in construction, or being a carpenter without having good tools, and those aren't cheap. Last I checked, Joe Biden's administration was not offering debt forgiveness for some power saws, for some squeegees, for a Toyota Tacoma, for a chainsaw, a couple of hammers, a Phillips screwdriver, a straight screwdriver, and some electric chainsaws, some electric handsaws. You see my point?
Yeah. A little bit long-winded, but yeah, I get it.
Very clear-cut point. I think this is going to backfire on Biden and the Democrats. I think there's a lot of Democrats who have paid their student debt, suffered and saved, budgeted and struggled. Let's do some alliteration.
I don't know if that's necessarily a good argument, though.
I think there's a lot of Democrats, here's some alliteration for you, who have suffered, saved, and struggled to pay their student loan debt. And they're saying right now, hey, this is a little tough for me to swallow. Why is it not a good argument? Please.
I know there are definitely some people that will feel that way, but at the same time, not doing something because you didn't do it before is not really a good argument for not doing it. Like, we didn't, we didn't shore up the banks of the Mississippi River when there was flooding before, so why should we do it now? Like, somebody who was hurt last year because of flooding doesn't care that you're going to start dealing with the problem now. I think most people who are looking at this issue and who would normally be for something like this are not necessarily going to say, oh, well, this could have helped me last year, but now it doesn't, so let's not give it to people this year. I don't think a lot of people are going to be angry that they missed out. I think if they feel that...
I think there's a lot of people that are very angry they missed out. Viewers and listeners, are you angry that you missed out on $10,000? Put it in the feed. Travis, Kevin.
I find that to be a poor argument, though.
Are you angry you got missed out on $10,000?
Tell me why it's a good reason or a bad reason. Don't tell me that you don't want it because I don't get it. That's just selfish and self-serving to me.
Is it just? Is it fair?
It
doesn't even solve the root of the problem. You know what the root of this problem is?
That is the question to ask.
The root of the problem is overpriced education and once again, the predatory nature of a sophisticated infrastructure outfit versus folks that are doe-eyed and dumb. We talk about Queen of Virginia with the gambling machines and how they're sophisticated and they're preying on the bodegas, the mom and pops. How about the colleges and the people that are offering the financing to the students saying here's tens of thousands of dollars, if not six figures in debt. And as Lee Elberson, friend of the program, said, he got six figures in debt in 10 minutes, signing 2 sheets of paper. The buddy I played squash with that I just met first year at the Darden School, $117,000 in debt. He said it was easy peasy to get the money.
Yeah. So you're likening our school system to the
gambling machines.
Queen of Victoria.
They're the gambling machines.
You're basically allowing people to spend money they don't necessarily don't
have and will possibly never get.
And you're not worried about whether or not they're at all aware of what they're signing up for.
The consumer at the gambling machines at the bodega spending money he or she doesn't have, financially poor. The bodega owner,
even the bodega, yeah.
The bodega owner getting preyed upon. The gambling machines and how Queen of Virginia is preying on the American consumer and the bodega owner is identical and synonymous to colleges and financing around tuition, preying on 18-year-olds that know no different. Biden's plan does not get to the root of the problem that college education is a house of cards that's about to crumble, it's unaffordable and it's unsustainable. You can't come out hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt and buy a house, not when prices are how they are. It's going to take you a decade, if not longer, to pay this stuff back. And I can relate to the millennials, I'm a millennial, that have student debt, who say, Jerry, college tuition is way more expensive now than even 15 years ago. And what we're making or earning as an American household, wages, have not kept up with tuition and college overhead. And that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay? But when this is said and done, and you heard it on the I Love CVille show first, I think this is going to backfire on the Democrats. Because the Republicans, are opposed to it. Many libertarians are opposed to subsidization, if not all. And a good chunk of Democrats struggled and saved, sustained, survived student loan debt. So they're going to feel burnt. And you have 2 lightning rods come midterms. Education, collegiate student loan forgiveness, education, parental involvement, education, the public school falling so far behind the private school, and the last thing you're voting on come midterms is inflation and how your dollar doesn't go far anymore. Anything you want to close with?
No.
I think you're nodding your head in pride over here.
Okay.
Nothing you want to close with?
No. I mean, it's a mess. I don't know what schools are going to do.
It is
to get
a
out of
mess,
this.
dude.
I don't know what
It's
the
a mess.
government is going to do to get out of this, but
It's a mess.
I would like to see more bipartisanship, but that's.
I'd like to see the party of common sense finally stand up and say, enough with this crazy polarization ideology. And I'd like for the party of common sense to finally stand up and take market share.
Which party is that?
Which party is that? The party that you and I are proud card-holding members of. The party of common sense.
Yeah.
School boards. Let's rebrand schools because of their sketchy history. Let's forget paying the bus drivers a living wage. Screw the bus drivers. They don't need a living wage. Who cares if the elementary school students can't get to first period on time? We've got to rebrand Kale Elementary, though. We got to spend the hundreds of thousands of dollars on the new signage and the hours it takes to crowdsource and crowdfund a new name. But screw the kids getting to elementary school on time. They don't need to learn. No big deal.
I'm sure that's exactly how it went.
Good job, school board. That's today's show. Judah and Jerry, the I Love SEVO show. So long, everybody.